Hello and welcome everybody. This is Sergio. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the next video recap lecture, which is titled Using Automated Rules for Bid Management. I'm going to go ahead and dive into this AdWords account. If you can see here, we're on the campaigns overview page, and I'm going to show you how to use automated rules for your keywords to manage, for example, in this case, we're going to cover average position, and I'm also going to show you how to change your bids based off of different rules that you set up using automated rules, which allow you to kind of automate some of those mundane tasks like monitoring the spend on certain keywords or ad groups throughout the day and not have to manually pause them so that you can stay within budget, things like that. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. First, we're going to go ahead and toggle over from the All Online Campaigns view to the Keyword view. But first, we're going to drill down into just one campaign to have a smaller little segment of data to work with. Let's go ahead and click on the keywords within this one campaign called batteries. We're going to go ahead and show all keywords within all ad groups. And if you wanted to say, for example, change your keyword bids whenever your position is below let's say 2 or 3, because you want to maintain the top ranking spots without using the bid strategy that automatically puts that bid there for you based off of what Google recommends, but rather based off of your historical performance, maybe the previous day's data. There are ways to do that using automated rules. So to do that, you can choose, say for example, keywords that you know are performing much better than others, which is the case sometimes. You want to make sure that you're showing up really well no matter what for X amount of keywords that are providing really good conversion rates. And to do that, you can just click on the keywords. Say for example, I want to do these 3 keywords, and you want to click on the automate drop down here. And there are some predefined options that you could choose, such as change max CPC when ... which indicates that you can choose this option if you want to change the bid, the cost per click bid, when a certain action takes place. You can choose to also select the raise bid to top of page CPC when, which will basically raise the bid to the estimated top page bid, or just anywhere on the first page is the secondary option. You can pause keywords when X rules are met. You can enable keywords when X rules are met. You can even send emails. It's important to note that if you do pause a campaign or make some sort of automated rule take place, you're going to want to create another rule if you want those to be reverted. Let's say, for example, if you want your keywords or your ad groups to pause automatically after $100 are spent every day, well, you're going to have to, once that rule gets enabled, or once that rule gets adhered to by a certain keyword that you have that automated rule set up for, it's going to pause that keyword. And there's no rule that says enable it again. You're going to have to manually do that. So keep that in mind. You may have to create, a follow-up rule for each rule that you create when using the pause option. But let's go ahead and go over the change max CPC bids when option, because I think that's the most useful one. It allows you to confirm that the 3 keywords you selected are in fact being used, or you could switch to all enabled keywords in the campaign, or all but removed keywords in the campaign, which is pretty self-explanatory. The options here, the automatic actions, are going to allow you to choose between increase or decrease bid. In our case, we want to increase. And it's probably something that you want to tinker with a bit depending on your industry and the cost per click ranges that you're dealing with. But you probably don't want to increase it too much, unless you notice that it's just a very volatile industry that's constantly being increased because it's a new type of product or service where competition is just starting to find its way into AdWords. But in most cases, I'd recommend either a 5% increase or a 10% increase at most. And if you need to increase that, then you can always go back and edit your rule. I'll show you how. You have the option to choose to enter a max bid. If you don't want to, simply uncheck that, and that option will go away. The requirements section here will allow you to have options for the rules, and you can add many rules. So there's a lot of flexibility here. Again, you can choose out of basically the entire library that you would see within a filter settings bar when you're looking at your keyword data. So let's say, for example, you wanted to only, apply if the bounce rate is X amount for the day. You have the option, as long as analytics and AdWords are linked, to do that. Let's say, for example, you wanted to apply a certain change, like increase the bid when the number of converted clicks for the day is greater than or equal to 10 conversions. I'm just giving random examples here, but the one that I think is really most helpful, most useful here is to check the average position. And essentially what you could do is click on your attributions. I'm sorry, which one is it? Your average position, which is performance. AVG position is where you're going to want to go to right here. So under performance, you would click average position. You can choose to enter worse than or better than. So let's say, for example, you want to maintain either 1 or 2 as your position average every day. And if it's worse than 3, you want to increase the bid by 5% with no bid limit. This is how you would set that up. And now this would occur every day at 11 p.m. using the previous day's data as a default. But you can change that as a weekly thing or monthly thing. You could change the time. Let's say you run ads at 9 a.m. and you want to implement the rule at 8 a.m. using the previous day's data. This will allow you to basically automate that process here with any keywords that you designate this rule to. So make sure you name your bid appropriately. Here I would put change max CPC bids when position is less than 3, so that we know what that means, or less than or equal to 3. And that will allow you to basically, like I said, automate the process. Now, when you do this, there is something you will need to do. You will need to create a secondary rule in order to ensure that you're not just letting the competition outbid you until you guys end up spending 3-4 times the amount you originally started spending, because keep in mind, your competitors could have automated rules as well. So essentially, if you guys are both providing a 10 out of 10 quality score and you're just constantly increasing your bid, that's how Google makes the money they make, by allowing competitors to bid more and more for this traffic for certain keywords that are coveted to them in their industry or niche. So what I would recommend doing in this case, since we've already got the keyword rule to increase the bids as long as the position is 3 on a daily basis, and it's taking the daily average from the previous day, I would also create a secondary rule. And it's going to say decrease bid by, I would just do a smaller amount, maybe 20% of what the increased bid amount was. So in this case, we would just do 1%. But the thing to think about here is that if it's going to increase every day that the previous day's position was worse than 3 by 5%, and every day that the average position, it's, let's just say, better than 1.9, or to be even more aggressive, 1.5, because it's going to take the daily average. So you might show up, out of X amount of times, enough so that your average position is 1.5, 2.5, 2.3, and it just calculates that average. So if you want to ensure that you're really doing a good job at showing up in the top positions, but if the position's better than 1.5 and you want to save a little bit of money by lowering that cost per click bid, you can reduce it by, you can reduce the bid by 1% incrementally every day until what happens is your bid amount will basically allow you to maintain the lowest possible cost to have that number 1 position. And if it does so happen that a competitor starts to outbid you, basically you've got the lower end bid rule and the higher end bid rule, which will allow you to always find that sweet spot that it takes to rank in the number 1 or 2 spot automatically. Again, you can use the bid strategy, which is top of page bid, and use the bid increase amount during the settings when you're creating your bid strategy for using an automatic top of page bid. but that applies to the entire campaign. And this is just another option that you can work with. And again, you can create rules that are not just based on average position. You can create tons of rules that will basically do more things, not just decrease the bid, but you can choose, if we go back, remember, there's the option to pause keywords, enable keywords, send an email when, and do a lot of great things here. So I encourage you to use these rules and kind of understand the flexibility with setting them up, playing with them so that you can make your life as an account manager more efficient, more effective, so you're not spending time doing things that aren't really, that meaningful, and spending more time on maybe building new ad groups, analyzing ROI data, and things like that. So I hope this has been helpful. And until next time, thanks for tuning in, guys.